Welcome to the next lesson. And we have studied the functions and the relevance and significance of art during our first lesson. And right now, our topic is how to study art and the process of creating art. Have you ever watched a time lapse of a building being constructed? Or a short video of how to bake muffins? Or a potter shaping clay on a wheel? Ano pa ba ang mga napanood ninyo na parang tutorial na para bang ikaw ay napapaisip na lang na, ay ganun pala yun? You know, there's something deeply satisfying about observing these processes. Watching as raw materials transform into something tangible and complete. You can almost sense the skill, materials, and methods involved in bringing these creations to life. Parang feeling mo, alam mo na rin kung paano ito gawin dahil alam mo yung mga basics nito. Similarly, art or appreciating art begins with understanding the ingredients that make up various art forms. So by taking a closer look at the foundational elements of art, we can all learn to appreciate and engage with the creative process. Ano nga ba ang mga basic ng art para malaman natin na, ay, ang ganda, galing. Okay? So, right now, we are exploring the art elements and principles. So, the elements of art are the essential tangible components that form the foundation of any visual artwork. They are often referred to as language of visual arts because they are the basic units used by artists to create and convey meaning. Understanding these elements is crucial for both creating and appreciating art. Here, we will go into each of these key elements. Ano nga ba ang mga basic na ingredients ng art na hindi natin masyado napapansin pero, oy, ganun pala yon. Okay? So the first one is line. Line is one of the most fundamental elements of art. It is a mark with greater length than width and can be horizontal, vertical, diagonal, straight, or curved, and it can vary in thickness and texture. Lines are used to define shapes, create textures, and imply movement or direction. So the expressiveness of a line can convey different emotions and qualities. Pero maraming klase ng lines. So first, we have the scribbles and whimsical lines. These lines are often playful, suggesting spontaneity, biglaan, or childlike innocence. Or parang bigla ka na nag-scribble ng ganyan, you created the lines. Okay? Next is implied lines. So when we talk about implied lines, this is created by positioning a series of points that the viewer's eye automatically connects, leading to a suggested line. So, hindi lantaran na pinapakita yung line, pero alam mo na merong linya doon na nagko-connect. Okay? Next, we have the blurred lines. Blurred lines, smudged or erased lines that create a sense of softness or ambiguity. Hindi siya straight na straight, kundi parang nabablur siya ng kaunti, no? Again, it signifies a sense of softness or ambiguity, yung hindi mo sure. Next would be the aggressive lines. So these are bold and harsh lines that convey energy, anger, or tension. So, talagang napakadiin ng pagka-drawing mo, ano? Or may mga lines talaga na pinapakita na galit yung isang tao. So, lalagyan mo ng kaunting aggressive lines dito. And then we have the calligraphic lines, and these are fluid, elegant lines that vary in thickness, often used in decorative writing or artistic scripts. Again, pag calligraphic, ibig sabihin nun is ginagamit siya na dugtong or mismong lines mismo ng iba't ibang mga lettering. So, calligraphic lines naman ang tawag natin doon. The next element of art would be shape. It refers to a two-dimensional flat area enclosed by lines or curves. So, pag yung line mo ay nag-connect na, nagiging shape na siya. So, shapes can be simple or complex, and they are used to define objects in space. There are three primary types of shapes. So, unahin natin yung una, which are the geometric shapes. These are precise and regular shapes like squares, circles, and triangles. These shapes are often used in structured, formal compositions. And ito yung mga shapes talaga na mayroong pangalan. So, these are geometric shapes. Next would be the biomorphic shapes, also known as organic shapes. These are irregular and free-flowing, often mimicking the forms of living organisms. So, merong shape ng spider or merong shape ng ant, merong shape ng malaking tiyan or shape ng lips. Those are what we call biomorphic shapes. Hindi siya square, hindi siya rectangle, but they are biomorphic. No? They are trying to represent something in real life. The next group of shapes would be the amorphous shapes. So, these are indefinite and free-form shapes that lack clear boundaries and can change form to evoke a sense of fluidity and abstraction. Shapes can also be implied through negative space, the space around and between objects, allowing the viewer's mind to complete the form. Pag amorphous, parang isa siyang shape na hindi naman geometric at hindi siya biomorphic dahil wala siyang nire-represent na parang something in real life. And that is shapes. The next element of art is form. So kung yung shape ay two-dimensional siya, pag ginawa na natin siyang 3D, ito na ang form. Because form refers to a three-dimensional object or the illusion of three-dimensionality in art. Unlike shape, which is two-dimensional, form has depth. Hindi yung depth na patay, kundi depth na lalim, as well as width and height. Maraming klase ng form din, but we are going to talk about two types of form. The first one is real forms. These are three-dimensional objects that exist in space, like sculpture, like mayroon talagang ganitong klase ng form. At andoon siya, ito na mismo, ito ang kanyang representation. Those are what we call forms or real forms. No? Next would be the implied forms. This is created in two-dimensional works through techniques like shading, perspective, and lighting, which gives the illusion of depth and volume. So, sometimes, through shading and through lighting, na perceive natin ang depth and volume ng isang form. For example, in the drawing of a sphere, the artist might use shading to create the illusion of roundness, making the shape appear as a solid form. Kahit 2D mo siya drawing, kung binigyan mo siya ng perspective like shading and lighting, sa mata natin, nagkakaroon siya ng tinatawag na form. Okay? The next element would be value. Now in art, value refers to the lightness or darkness of a color or tone. Pag pumunta ka ng Photoshop, brightness and darkness naman ito, no? Pero ang tawag natin generally is value. It is a critical element in creating contrast and depth in a composition. So value is often represented on a tonal scale, which ranges from the lightest light, white, to the darkest black or black, with various shades of gray in between. Okay? So the two main components of value are tints. These are the lighter tones created by adding white to a color. For example, your base is the color green, then you add white to it or a lighter tone to it, so you are tinting it. Okay? Pag pinapalight mo yung isang color, that is called tints. Now, on the other hand, we have shades. Darker tones are created by adding black to a color. Kabaliktaran naman siya, no? So, for example, there is a color green ulit tayo. Pag nilagyan mo siya paunti-unti ng black, it becomes darker. So, you are putting shade to it. Okay? So, you are changing its value by making it either lighter or darker. Understanding and controlling value is crucial for creating the illusion of light and shadow. This enhances the sense of form and spatial depth in an artwork. Remember, value refers to the lightness or darkness of your subject. The next one is color. Color is also known as hue. Okay? H-U-E. It is the most vivid and immediately noticeable element of art. It results from light reflecting off a surface and being perceived by the eye. Yung light ang nagbibigay ng kulay sa mga different objects sa mga art natin. No? In art, colors are typically derived from pigments, which are substances that provide color when added to a medium like paint. At what's your favorite color? No? So that would be coming from a pigment. Nowadays, those are coming from the different pixels combined to create your favorite colors in our favorite video and photo editing applications. But there are two main types of color systems. The first one is what we call subtractive colors. So pag sinabi natin subtractive colors, these are colors created when different pigments are combined, as in painting. No? So the primary subtractive colors are red, yellow, and blue. No? So ito ay sabi ko nga sa inyo ay nanggaling sa mga different pigments. The basic red, yellow, and blue, those are the primary subtractive colors. But we have another type of colors. Ito naman yung tinatawag natin na additive colors. These are the colors created by light, used usually in digital art and screens, where the primary colors are red, green, and blue naman. Kaya nga RGB na tinatawag. So, pagdating sa ink, subtractive colors, ang primary natin, again, is red, yellow, and blue. Pagdating naman sa screen, RGB, or red, green, and blue. So, colors can evoke emotions, convey moods, and create atmosphere. Artists often use color schemes such as complementary, analogous, or monochromatic palettes to unify a composition and convey meaning. Okay, next element would be texture. So pag sinabi nating texture, it refers to the surface quality of an artwork. How it feels to the touch, or how it appears to feel. Pag sinabi natin how it feels to the touch is the actual texture of some items that we are already familiar with. And when we are not familiar, or if it's a fantastical texture, then it can be implied texture. Artists use texture to add depth and interest and realism to their work. There are a lot of techniques to create texture. This would include, number one, impasto. This is a painting technique where paint is applied thickly so it stands out from the surface, creating a textured three-dimensional effect. Kung nakakakita kayo ng mga real painting, siguro may mga parts doon na mas makapal yung kanilang mga paint. That is impasto. There is also stamping and scratching. These are techniques used in printmaking or pottery to create patterns or textures on a surface. And then we have the embossing. So, embossing is a method of creating raised patterns or designs often used in printmaking. Contemporary artists often use texture to evoke emotional responses or to create a sense of realism and tactile engagement, or to create a sense of touch. So that would be the element of art that is texture. Okay, the next element is light. You know what? Light is essential to visual art because without light, we cannot see the visual art itself. Then it becomes a tactile art, or it becomes a smelled art, or a listened to art. But we're talking about visual art as of the moment, so the most important element of it is light. It allows us to perceive colors, forms, and textures. Hindi natin may imply kung anong kulay niya, kung anong form niya, at kung anong texture niya kung hindi natin nakikita mismo. Light can be natural, like sunlight, or artificial, lamp light, and can be used to enhance the mood and the depth and focus of an artwork. There are several ways that light is used in art. The first one is natural light. This is often used in landscape painting, where the quality and direction of the sunlight can dramatically affect the scene's mood. It can be during sunrise, can be during sunset, and it can be during nighttime, it can be during the middle of the night where only the moonlight can be seen, highlighting the different elements of the visual art. The next type would be the artificial light. This is often used in photography, theater, and digital art to create specific effects or maybe highlight particular elements. No? Lastly, we have the implied light na naman. Implied, we keep hearing that word, In paintings and drawings, light can be suggested through techniques like chiaroscuro, employed by Leonardo da Vinci, which suddenly uses strong contrast between light and dark to create a sense of volume and three-dimensionality. So again, that's chiaroscuro. And light is also crucial in defining the time of day or weather conditions and atmosphere in a composition, significantly influencing the viewer's interpretation. The next element would be space. Space refers to the area within, around, and between objects in a composition. It can be divided into positive space, or the area occupied by objects, and negative space, the empty areas around or in between the objects. So those are space. Understanding space allows artists to create the illusion of depth and perspective in a two-dimensional work. At maraming klase ng space din when we look at its terminology. The several types of space are, first we have the positive space. These are the main subjects or objects of work in an art. For example, this is the positive space. And then we have negative space. These are the background or areas around the main objects, yung mga walang laman. Those are what we call the negative space. But then, there is also what we call a double negative space. This is a technique where a blank space is used intentionally within a color field or pigment area, creating a unique spatial relationship. So, paano ginagamit ito? Artists use space to create the depth and dimension, direct the viewer's attention, and achieve a sense of balance in their compositions. For instance, overlapping objects and using perspective lines can make a flat surface appear three-dimensional, guiding the viewer's eye through the artwork.